Good evening. My name is Guion Foreman, and I'm the president of the Chicago Police Board, and I'm calling the board's March 18th public meeting to order. To protect the public's health in response to the COVID-19 outbreak and as permitted by Governor Pritzker's executive orders 2020-07 and 2021-05, this meeting is taking place remotely. This meeting is open to the public via audio conference and is being carried live by CAN TV. Those participating by phone are on mute in order to reduce background noise and disruptions. We have a court reporter making a transcript of this meeting. I will begin by taking attendance so it is clear who is participating in this meeting. Please say here after I read your name. Police Board Vice President Paula Wolf.
Here.
Board Member Matthew Crowell.
Here.
Board Member Michael Eady.
Here.
Board Member Steve Flores.
Here.
Board Member Jorge Montes.
Here.
Board Member John O'Malley.
Here.
Board Member Rhoda Sweeney.
Here.
Board Member Andrea Zopp.
Here.
Superintendent of Police David Brown.
Here.
Chief Administrator of COPA Sydney Roberts.
Here.
Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety Deborah Witzberg.
Here.
Chief of Police Department's Bureau of Internal Affairs Karen Conal.
Here.
General Counsel to the Superintendent Dana O'Malley.
Here.
Deputy Chief of CPD's Office of Operations Yolanda Talley.
Here.
Chief of Chicago Police Department's Bureau of Detectives Brendan Dinahan.
Here.
And Executive Director of the Police Board Max Caproni.
Here.
We have a full house tonight. We will now proceed on the items of the meeting agenda. We will have time at the end of the meeting for public comments. Once again, those participating by phone are currently on mute in order to reduce background noise and disruptions. When we get to the public comment portion of the meeting, we will unmute each speaker. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the board's February 18th regular public meeting?
Paula Wolf, I move.
Michael Eady, second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Our next regular public meeting will be held on Thursday, April 15th at 7:30 p.m. Whether this will be an in-person meeting or a remote meeting will be determined closer to the meeting date. Is there a motion to close a series of executive sessions for the purposes of considering personnel matters and litigation as authorized by sections 2C, 1, 3, 4, and 11 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act?
I so move, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
All in favor?
Aye.
Over the past several weeks, I've had several conversations with the superintendent regarding a lot of issues, but specifically there were some officer suicides as well as police officers have been shot, and it's outpacing the rate at which this happens in past years. The police department, they have a hard job, and we ask them to do a lot of things. And in my conversations with the superintendent, we thought it was important that as the board, as we're getting educated and we're using these police board meetings to create an opportunity to not only educate ourselves, but to make sure that we educate the public as well. We have Alexa James here today. Ms. James is the CEO of the National Alliance on Mental Illness in Chicago. She was recently appointed to a senior advisor to Chicago Police Department, where she'll talk to us about mental health for officers. Ms. James.
Thank you, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, excellent. I'm so grateful to be here, and it's so lovely. I wish we were in person, of course, but it's incredible to just look around this room and see people who have mentored me and taught me so much about the complexities of policing and social services and city services and government, frankly, in my last almost 10 years at NAMI Chicago. So I absolutely want to talk a little bit about the role that I have been privileged to perform at the police department. And I want to give a little context as to kind of how we got here as a social worker, a civilian and is the CEO of an organization called NAMI Chicago. So at NAMI Chicago, our work focuses on supporting all people in their journey around mental wellness. We really work to build resilience on the basis of the community members so they can achieve wellness, working together in partnerships to shift the perspective around mental health, that mental health impacts all of us. I think we all can probably feel that really deeply, particularly in the last year, and really working to reduce the stigma and increase the system and reform really the system, the mental health system, which has never been fully actualized or well understood. Our longest and strongest partnership is the Chicago Police Department. And this is not by accident. Across the country, our mental health system are often systems of crisis systems, and our first responders have become the safety net for mental health services as years of de-investment have eroded the community. And I know we all feel this too, right? As we know, in Chicago, we have very strong mental health providers, but they cannot meet the significant needs. And so often we are not doing prevention work, we're doing crisis response work. And when that happens, we're calling 911 and we are dispatching tens of thousands of calls for service every single year requesting law enforcement support. This really has to end. There's this strain on the crisis system is not sustainable, and frankly, it's not the job for law enforcement. This is important in like the context of understanding how NAMI Chicago began our partnership with CPD, because we've really participated for 16 years in the training of CPD officers in supporting de-escalation, mental health awareness, et cetera. And what I noticed about 3 to 4 years into my training, which was, every single Monday at either the police academy or headquarters, was there are some really incredibly brave and compassionate folks. And Paula was just mentioning a story before we kind of kicked off today of just like real humanity that shows through. But if our officers themselves are at a 10, if they are struggling and if they are not well, the ask of them to deal with my worst moment in my life is unacceptable and frankly inhumane as a mental health advocate. So we changed the way that we started to train, and we started to think about this as an opportunity to engage officers once a week to talk about normalizing mental health. That mental health is not just the individual who is experiencing acute psychosis outside talking to themselves. It is all of us all the time. And what I found very quickly is that there was a hunger for these officers and a real lack of cohesive support for them in the department. For years. I mean, this is not a new concept, and this certainly is not new, and this is not unique to Chicago. This is a national issue that's going on in law enforcement throughout the country. We've asked them to be the social service safety net. We have not invested in them the way that they need to be invested in. And there's also the context, certainly of the last few years, which has been demoralizing and challenging for them to negotiate. In the late summer of 2020, the superintendent approached me and his staff and said, would you come on board and support our wellness efforts? And after many months of kind of negotiating what my schedule would look like and getting my feet wet and really learning what the needs were, and also the superintendent saying that this is the main pillar of his administration is officer wellness, I thought, well, I can't leave NAMI Chicago, but I can bring NAMI Chicago with me. And it's not because I am so attached and in love with my organization. It is because the resources of NAMI Chicago can only support the organization. At NAMI Chicago, we work very hard to heal through the voices and through the experiences of those living in the communities that we serve. So it is no different for us to join the police department and do the same thing. So it's a privilege to work in this capacity to increase the wellness of individual officers, really supporting cultural reform, supporting the reform that is happening under the consent decree, because there are 38 paragraphs or so devoted to officer wellness, and ultimately bringing to the superintendent a concept of what it would look like to have a chief wellness officer position within the police department. So it is not boring work. It is wildly interesting. And what I have learned is that there's so much love and so much desire to find empathy again, and so much connection in this department. They're hungry for support and they're hungry to be acknowledged. And here I am. I will promise to make you all as proud as I can. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I am certainly available to answer any questions if you have any specific questions.
So a general question, what resources are available for members of the police department?
Sure. So so we actually have a pretty robust EAP. And I say that because we went from 3 clinicians in our employee assistance program to 13. There's also 5 or 6 substance use counselors. So these are sworn members who are living in their own recovery. And the chaplains unit is very popular and robust. We also have about 150 peer support members, which is great. But take off your police hat and think about, as a clinician and as a mental health advocate, we would never say a large healthcare organization serves 13,000 members. Oh, wait, and their families and people who've retired, and here's 13 clinicians to support them. It would be outrageous, right? So we are trying to figure out what a staffing level should look like, what makes sense. But what's interesting is that police are not afraid to ask for help. I mean, they're going to the EAP and they're calling our helpline all the time. There's fear around real engagement. I think what we're hearing, consistently, and the superintendent will attest this too, is whether you're a deputy chief or a PO, people want to feel heard and seen, and they want to feel like people have their back. And it's a very scary environment to be in when you go to work every day and you're out in the field and you don't necessarily feel supported. And then you go back and you also don't feel supported, right? For whatever reason, because it's a complicated time. So figuring that out in terms of communication strategies, in terms of building management, what do the facilities feel like for people, is really an area that I'm focusing on right now. Because that stuff matters too. You walk into your office and you want to feel good about it. You want to feel professional. And is that available for everybody?
Are there any other questions?
There's been discussion about changing up the model of policing a little bit so that police don't necessarily go out on calls when there's a behavioral health problem, or they go with somebody who has a professional background. What's happening around that?
You always ask the best question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I wanted to step one step back in saying that. There are, what is it, 28 or 32% of the department is crisis intervention team trained. Everyone's had some level of training. Okay, so it's so good, right? And they do. They call me every night. What do we do with this guy? What do we do with this guy? We've actually, through our diversion program at NAMI, we've diverted 400 individuals, 138 families. Officers call us, say, can you help us case manage this, whatever, and they aren't calling for service again. And we do this because it's the right thing to do, but it's because it's exhausting work. And it's not necessarily what they signed up for. And it's depleting of resources and morale, right? Because the police can't do what we can do in a case management perspective. So one of the reasons actually we put a diversion program in is to increase mental wellness, right? It doesn't sound connected, but it is. And so what we could do in our work is advocate for a model in which people are utilizing more preventative resources. We may have a visitor here, more preventative resources, as well as clinicians to provide support to the officer in the field, very similar like the LA model or whatever, so that the actual clinician can be doing the crisis intervention and the police can make sure that everyone is safe. I think there's some steps that we have to build. What we have to understand is there are state policies in place that make it very difficult for clinicians to transport an individual to a hospital. So our policies at the state level and the federal level are still relying on us to utilize first responders to transport. So everyone's like, use social workers. We'd love to, but we can't put them in our car. We are not legally allowed to. So there's some stuff we have to do. Sure. Do you want to say hi to everybody on the police board? Yeah. Okay. So yes, there's movement to be made there. There's some pilot coming out of the mayor's office, and we are certainly pushing legislation to enhance crisis management in that respect.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. We're going to let you get back to family time. Thank you for joining us this evening. And we really look forward to working with you. If there's anything from a police board perspective that we can do, please don't hesitate to reach out. And, for members of the public who are seeing this, or police officers who are seeing this, please, Ms. James is an incredible resource in her organization. So let's utilize this.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry for my sweet little girl.
This is the Zoom world that we live in now.
Delightful.
Please do reach out, and I will just end with this. Please reach out. You know, I can be reached at NAMI or at the police department, alexa.james. But what I will say is the warm welcome that I've received from my colleagues on this call, from the members of the police department, and hi, Lieutenant Ward, it's so good to see you, has been so humbling. And the grace and the humility and the love that I've been shown has been so welcoming. So thank you all. And I look forward to supporting you in any way that I can. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Thank you very much. A report of disciplinary actions taken by the board during the previous month has been made available on the board's website. There are several police disciplinary cases on the agenda this evening. The police board, as authorized by the Open Meetings Act, has considered in a closed meeting several police discipline cases. The police will now take final action on these cases. Regarding case number 20PB2973, is there a motion to find police officer Jeanette O'Brien guilty of failing to follow medical roll procedures, not guilty of making a false report, and to suspend her for 14 days? You're on mute.
Yeah, Paula Wolf, so moved.
A second, Michael Eady.
Thank you. I will now call on members of the board for their votes. Wolf,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Edie,
Aye.
Flores,
Aye.
Montez,
Aye.
O'Malley,
Aye.
Sweeney,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
and I vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Crowell, Edie, Flores, Montez, O'Malley, Sweeney, Zop, and myself. The motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Is there a motion to adopt the written findings and decision that have been reviewed by all board members who participated in this case?
So moved, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion passes. Regarding case number 20PB2974, the superintendent filed charges against police officers Laura Kuhlman and Carol Weingart, recommending that they be discharged from the Chicago Police Department for using deadly force without justification and making false statements. The superintendent subsequently moved to withdraw these charges because Kuhlman and Weingart each resigned their position with the CPD. Is there a motion to grant the superintendent's motion?
So moved, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
I will now call on members of the board for their votes. Wolf,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Edie,
Aye.
Flores,
Aye.
Montez,
Aye.
O'Malley,
Aye.
Sweeney,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
and I vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Crowell, Edie, Flores, Montez, O'Malley, Sweeney, Zop, and myself. The motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Regarding case number 20PB2981, the superintendent filed charges against police officer Joseph Martis, recommending that he be discharged from the Chicago Police Department for conduct unbecoming an officer while on duty. The superintendent subsequently moved to withdraw these charges because Martis resigned his position with the CPD. Is there a motion to grant the superintendent's motion?
Yeah, I think there's just one correction in the description. He was off duty. This is Paula Wolf, so moved.
Thank you.
Michael Eady, second.
I will now call on members of the board for their votes. Wolf,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Edie,
Aye.
Flores,
Aye.
Montez,
Aye.
O'Malley,
Aye.
Sweeney,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
and I vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Crowell, Edie, Flores, Montez, O'Malley, Sweeney, Zop, and myself. The motion passes by a vote of 9-0. The decisions in the cases on which the board took final action this evening will be entered as of today's date and will be issued to the parties. The decisions will then be posted on the board's website. The general orders and other directives issued by the superintendent during the previous month are posted on the police department's website. Superintendent Brown, I'll now ask you for your oral report.
Hey, Soup, you're muted.
All right, can you hear me okay now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. So I'm going to have a little bit of an abbreviated report because Alexa reported out on our focus on officer wellness, but I will just say this in addition to what Alexa added. Healthy officers interact with the community with genuine empathy and compassion, and they put their lives on the line every day, but yet they are affected by the trauma they see every day in doing their job. And as police, we can always do better. We can always do more, but we can never lose sight of the important work being done every day and night by our officers. And we owe them at the very least, to put their mental and physical health at the top of our priority list. And I want to jump ahead to the events in Atlanta. I'm sure you all have seen the news reports of the tragedies in Atlanta. And I just wanted to share what things we are doing here in Chicago at the police department to ensure our Asian American community feels secure and safe. That evening of that tragedy in Atlanta, we increased all of our patrols in our Asian communities. That next morning, we conducted outreach to our various Asian community stakeholders and visited with them through our Office of Community Policing and our CAPS office to ensure if they had any specific concerns that we address those. And we'll continue our extra patrols in these communities for an undetermined period of time. Again, this focus in these communities is really part of our efforts to protect all people in Chicago, regardless of their race, ethnicity, gender, or other criteria, so that we can ensure everyone feels safe. So we've had some comments about this from the Asian community. We have calls in from various stakeholders that we are continuing to take. And if you know anyone who's feeling concerned or unsafe, please forward or call in to Chicago Police and we'll address those concerns. And I'll close with that. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next up, Chief Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me the opportunity to address the board and the members of the community today. I did want to take a minute to commend the superintendent for making the officers' mental health a priority. You know, as a person that spent over 20 years in law enforcement, I can echo that seeing people at their worst, experiencing their worst, and doing their worst does take a toll on you. And I think we all know that a healthy officer makes healthy decisions, both for themselves, for the community they serve, and for their families. So I am really elated to hear about this. But I also wanted to take this opportunity to extend a special thanks to Mayor Lightfoot for championing yet another groundbreaking initiative through Executive Order 2101 that is earmarked to afford greater transparency in the actions of the Chicago Police Department. As was reported in the news, this executive order affords complainants and their legal representatives the opportunity to receive body-worn camera and certain other records that are associated with a complaint of misconduct. And, you know, for COPA, who already has the responsibility of releasing video in officer-involved shootings, we were equally honored when we had the opportunity to field these requests from members of the public. And I just want to say to those that are listening, if you or anyone you know has filed a complaint of police misconduct, that you can go to our website, www.chicagocopa.org, and it will direct you to how to make that complaint. I also want to take an opportunity to announce that policies that last year COPA had reviewed and amended by our policy review working group, which, are about 19 residents of Chicago, representing a cross section of Chicagoans. Those policies have been approved by the federal monitoring team and the Attorney General. And next week, we will be posting those to our website for public comment. We will be making another announcement, likely a press release, putting it on social media, but I wanted to make sure that everybody on this call was aware of that, and that if you wanted to opine on our policies, please do. Finally, I'd like to take a minute to introduce Ephraim Eady. He is COPA's Public Information Officer, and he's going to provide a brief update on COPA's ongoing youth initiative.
Thank you, Chief Roberts, and to all of the members of the board and those obviously that are watching tonight. When Chicago first launched, when City Council first established COPA by ordinance to be the civilian oversight agency for the Chicago Police Department back in 2017, COPA launched, and part of what had not been done or not in place, I should say, was a robust community outreach, community engagement component of civilian oversight. So what COPA has really been able to do, generally speaking, around the city of Chicago, first, our approach was really to go to those zip codes, those wards, those police districts that had the highest level of complaints in the past and the highest level of police interactions. And after kind of going there and making sure that we were bringing the broader Chicago community along and COPA's role, COPA's jurisdiction, how to file complaints. We were attending ward meetings, beat meetings, community meetings, meetings at churches and things of that nature. And that was really targeted at those zip codes, those wards, those police districts that had the highest level of complaints, and making sure that they were educated and informed on who COPA was and how to file complaints. So really from there, we moved to partnering with city agencies like Chicago Public Library, Chicago Public Schools, Department of Family and Supportive Services, and many others. We really started to focus more on youth. It was really something when Chief Roberts came on in 2018, her and I really talked about how we had been impacted personally as a kid that grew up on the south side of Chicago, between south and west side, I guess you can say. And Chief Roberts, who came from as a child from a law enforcement family, we really saw that youth's voice was instrumental and very important. And we needed to make sure that they were not being left behind in this police oversight, especially after the death of Laquan McDonald. We saw how many youth went to the streets in protest and lifted their voice. And we made sure to find a way to amplify the voices of young people. So what we have been able to do through our youth engagement is create platforms where not only can we engage youth and help them understand who we are, but we felt like that would be just kind of only scratching the surface if we only kind of talked at them. We really wanted to bring them along in a conversation and really hear from them in a way that we hadn't done in the past. And we understand with COPA that often people see us as an investigative agency that's investigating allegations of police misconduct, but those outcomes can be polarizing, right? Some may agree or disagree with outcomes, and it's often just based on how many are weighing the facts. But COPA being more than just an investigative investigative agency, really saw outreach as a way as being also an informer to the public, an educator to the public, and also a platform where we could hear. And so what we were able to create, working with organizations like MICVA Challenge, which really champions youth and social justice kind of efforts and education here in the city of Chicago. We were also able to partner with Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement is the world's largest organization dedicated to empowering students through its Junior Achievement Career Success and Job Shadow programs. We partner with organizations like this to really engage youth in ways that we believe not only informed them, but again, kind of brought them along in a conversation. And so what we have really been able to do is focus on going to the schools over the past few years and creating a curriculum or what we call an educational symposium to really engage them in mock debriefings, mock investigations, literally bringing an investigation to young people and having them go through the process and having staff participate as well to educate the youth on how to look at facts, how to look at body worn camera video, how to not make judgment just on what you see on social media. And from that, we really were able to not only engage youth. We first started on the west side of Chicago at Michelle Clark Public School, and what was supposed to be a one-day kind of talking to juniors and seniors turned into a 3-day talking to almost 400 youth opportunity that we really felt like we had something there and that we wanted to take to other schools also. So we began working with the schools on the south side of Chicago, like Carver High School, obviously Michelle Clark, as I've already mentioned. We started working with, I apologize, some of them are escaping me. We started working with Corliss High School, Sullivan High School, Amberson, Chicago Military, Lakeview. And just over the years of being able to perfect this, we really were able to start bringing youth. This is right before the pandemic, unfortunately, hit our city and state, and obviously our country. We were able to bring young people to COPA, also to spend a day with us, going through the investigative process, meeting with some of our staff, and it was really to encourage also career paths. And from that, we expanded even further, going to Kennedy King College, Northwestern, DePaul, Chicago State, Loyola, Wright College, National Louis University, really again to engage youth. And so this is a component that we have started with youth, but we really will be looking to expand to adults as well, walking them through our investigative process and even providing mock investigations where they can kind of take on that role as investigator, as witness, and things of that nature. So we're excited about the efforts of even moving that to virtually within the past few months. Due to the pandemic, we haven't stopped. We've just gotten even more creative in how we have done it. And so we also want to offer this opportunity to anyone that's watching or listening this evening. If it's something that you're interested in, COPA has been able to take this on the road now virtually and in person. And so as we engage youth, and we engage adults, we're just mindful of bringing everyone along in the conversation. Some of the most empowered people are those that are informed. And so we just want to make sure that we're doing that as civilian oversight agency for the city of Chicago.
So Ephraim, who should members of the public get in contact with if they would like for you to come to their block club or to their church group or virtual on Zoom? Who should they get in contact with?
Actually, on our website at chicagocopa.org, if they go to the contact page, there is a community outreach. They fill out the form right there that asks for name, email address, phone number, tell us what they would like us to do. It could just be a general presentation about who COPA is and what we do, or something more in depth like we do with the youth. Obviously, we want to do it with adults as well. However you want us, whenever you want us, and almost wherever you want us. We've been just about everywhere in the state of Chicago doing about 200 presentations a year. We will definitely come. We're really here to serve people. We really see this as police accountability takes all of us, and we really mean that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Before we go
Ephraim.
to the public comments, Superintendent, I got an email the other day. The police department is hiring. So I'm gonna allow you to give a few words. Tell why should someone become a police officer?
It's the most rewarding job that you could ever take on, particularly during the most challenging time to be a cop. And you will change the lives of people for the better. You heard earlier that oftentimes police are the social service of last resort by default, but people in need oftentimes call 911 and you will be able to help people in need, as well as protect the communities in some of the most diverse, really high energy, enthusiastic neighborhoods. I mean, it just, Chicago is like no other city in the country, in my opinion. You would just love serving the people of Chicago. And we are really wanting to hire a very diverse workforce. We're putting together a very aggressive ground game. We know we are competing across the country. There's a emphasis on recruiting a diverse pool of candidates to be police officers. And so we want to have an aggressive in-person ground game, urban radio ground game. We want to be on military bases, at colleges and universities, at job fairs, convincing young people, especially, to come on board and help us serve the people of Chicago. So you'll hear more from me on this pitch, and we're gonna, as best we can, ensure that we have a large pool of people that we can get into the neighborhoods of this city to help do one of the best jobs I believe you can take on. So thanks again for that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. As we move to public comments, I would like to remind everyone of the board's policy on participations at these meetings. We value your comments and questions on police-related matters, and we will treat you with courtesy and respect. We expect all members of the public to treat everyone at this meeting in a similar manner. Please note that personal attacks and obscene language are strictly prohibited, and that repeated violations of the board's policy may result in the violator not being permitted to participate in future board meetings. I will now call upon members of the public who signed up in advance to speak. Each speaker will be unmuted after I call his or her name. Our first speaker, Renee Nowlin. Ms. Nowlin, if you can unmute.
And Guion, this is Max Caproni. Just a reminder to speakers on the phone that you can press *6 to unmute.
Thank you.
Thank you for that reminder. Can you hear me okay, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. I am honored to be here and have the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Renee Nolan. I am the secretary of the KECS Black Club Association, which is in the 4th District. And I am calling today in regards to a community organizer within the 4th District. We had a report. Our organization is around 19 blocks strong within the 7th Ward, and we also partner with allies in the surrounding communities. And we have been building a partnership with the police in our community, or working to do that. And we had built a rapport with our community organizer, which we were saddened to hear that he retired last fall. And from what I understand, it's been on hold to have another community organizer. And I'm just reaching out, stressing the importance of having one in our area and seeing if there's any updates. I understand there's been talk about it, but I don't know if anything has been done as far as the hiring and interviewing process.
Superintendent?
Yes, Deputy Chief Talley is on, ma'am, and she, if you're willing to share your contact information, she will follow up with you on the process that we're going through to hire for that position.
Absolutely. My email or my phone number or what?
We'll Max Caproni from the police board. He'll share your contact information. So we don't.
That'll be wonderful.
We don't want your email on CAN TV.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Jennifer Edwards. Miss Edwards. Max, what are we pressing again to unmute?
It's *6. You're calling in by phone.
Okay, how about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. On Saturday, 3/13/21 at 1:05 a.m., we received a text message about a large gathering at the Completion Barbershop, 2nd floor at 543 East 75th Street, that someone was shooting and everyone was running. We were later told that the 3rd District was out with multiple officers looking for bullet shells, even though this address is on the 6th District side of 75th Street. A few 6th District cars were also present. When calling the 6th District inquiring about the incident, no police reports and no 911 calls were found. It has been noted by many block clubs and community members that numerous 911 calls are needed in order to get police cars to come out for police matters in our neighborhoods. We are told that it is the 911 prioritizing that causes this. That area on East 75th Street has 3 places that community members have been reporting about illegal parties: 606 East 75th on the 3rd side, 543 on the 6th side, and 741 on the 6th side. We are afraid that we will soon have more situations as the shooting on Sunday morning at 6700 South Chicago Avenue. Can we request more collaboration with crime on district boundaries between 3 and 6, and more help from BACP enforcing, closing, and shutting down these parties that are not COVID safe and have high crime potentials? We understand that the police districts are writing complaints on these addresses, but BACP has not closed them yet. The 3rd District has written several complaints and fines, but the activity continues. We hope to get ahead of these situations before spring and summer begins. Right. We thank you for the DCO programs that are starting in our areas, and we look forward to working with CPD.
Thank you. Superintendent?
Yes, this has been a focus of ours in our planning for the spring and summer. And we are in collaboration with BACP and our troubled buildings unit to shut these locations down. Deputy Chief Talley will follow up with this caller to make sure we get all of the addresses and locations that she just listed. And we visit with BACP and troubled buildings and give her a follow-up on the actions that we've taken.
Okay, thank you. 3 and 6 have been doing a good job, but we just need more help to get these places down. I love my 3rd District. I love my 6th District.
I'm sorry to mute you. I'll get in trouble later, Ms. Edwards. We have to keep going. Next speaker, Ms. June Norfleet.
Okay. Well, this is going to be an amplification of what my colleague, Ms. Edwards, said. And this evening, I'm going to talk to you once again about that low-hanging fruit. In my grandmother's orchard at night, if you walk through there, being a Southern girl that I am, if you walk through an orchard at night and you don't pay attention, you're going to get hit in the head with the low-hanging fruit. Now, we thank you guys for continuing to give focus on low-hanging fruit, such as traffic violations, and which, if you nip them in the bud, they can be a disruptor of other significant crime that will happen. However, the travesty that happened at 67th and South Chicago is because we did not manage our low-hanging fruit. We were told that there would be these rapid deploy groups that would go out and seek out these pop-up parties that are in violation of our city ordinances. Apparently that didn't happen. And so we got hit in the head with the low-hanging fruit. I am asking, our community is pleading that you please investigate the locations on 75th and 79th Street, as they have the potential to present the same type of disruptive event that occurred at 67th and South Chicago. Do not get hit in the head with a low-hanging fruit. Pick it and get rid of it. Thank you so much for your support, and we look forward to continuing our collaboration. Thank you, President Guion.
Thank you. Next speaker, Matt Brandon. Mr. Brandon, star 6. Mr. Brandon. All right, we'll come back to Mr. Brandon. Next speaker, Eunice Chapman Regis.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening. I thank you for your genuine concern for the issues plaguing our community. However, the persistent continuation of these issues by violators who are not of the Chatham area is troublesome. Regardless of the repeated efforts of Eberhard 79 Block Club members and our numerous 911 calls, Family Fresh Meat Market located at 457 East 79th Street and its sister 24-hour store located at 521 East 79th Street are blights in our neighborhood who repeatedly fail to exhibit good business practices as these held by Chicago's BACP that issue business licenses. They harbor and promote illegal activities that threaten the value of life and quality of life of the surrounding neighborhoods and residents, many of whom are owner-occupied dwellings with families that include minor and school-aged children. The continuation of illegal drug sales and loitering on public way outside the store by 10 or more, even though the owners of these businesses have signed no trespassing affidavits, not practicing social distancing, nor wearing masks during COVID-19 climate, selling of single cigarettes, and going so far as to put up a grill on a sidewalk, public sidewalk, and barbecuing in broad daylight. Why hasn't this stopped? It's frustrating. Your phone call log will attest to the fact that our neighborhood phone tree has numerous 911 calls to report the activities at this location. On March 8, 2018, the courtroom 1111 in the Daily Center, case number 16M1403625. We went to court about the criminal incidents and arrests that occurred at 457 East 79th Street. At that time, Bobby, the ghost owner, was ordered by the court not to be on the premises of 457 East 79th Street. Even though several pseudo owners have leased that location, Bobby has never stopped going there. On Tuesday of this week, I saw him unloading merchandise at that location. He was cohorting with the loiterers as they assisted him unloading the goods and as they took them into the building, 457 East 79th Street. While driving downtown on State Street, I've seen several squad cars stationed along the median. Why can't a patrol car be stationed at 79th Eberhard? According to
I'm sorry, that was the 2 minutes, but we get the point. I'll ensure that that Max gets the information. Deputy Chief will ensure that Max gets this information to you, the contact information, as well as some of the addresses that we spoke about. Next speaker, Mr. Brad Frederick.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, Superintendent and members of the board, again, as the first speaker, Ms. Nolan from our district brought up, I'm here about the community organizing in the 4th District. We're trying hard out here. As you can hear, there's block clubs working together. We're trying to build this safety net for both the police department and ourselves. And this deficit with this organizer is it's a sabotage on us. Okay, we're told that the DCOs will come in and miraculously be saviors. You know, this new program. I don't believe it. I think that we need a community organizer to stay on top of the block club situation. Without police, let the police do the policing job. Let us get an organizer so we can get ourselves together. This is urgent. And, before we had a couple of years without an organizer in the 4th District, which needs 2 organizers because of its unique demographic. A huge district, a large English and Spanish population. So this needs to be acted on. We can't, we're getting the runaround. That's what it feels like. So, again, we ask you, Superintendent and members of the board, to help us. Okay, and again, I thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Next speaker, Zedric Braden.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Superintendent and board members. I'm a Chicago attorney, longtime resident of Park Manor. Just want to commend the superintendent for his fine work and leadership. I am old enough to remember the chaos that went on in Chicago during the 60s. I must say, it's no one's fault. It's certainly not anybody's fault here, but this is a hands-on deck situation, all hands on deck situation in terms of crime. In Chicago, we have two pandemics, COVID-19 and out-of-control crime. And again, I know the police department is doing its best. I want to piggyback off the things everyone else has said. I just want to remind the board and the superintendent, certainly transparency is an issue, but public safety is paramount. That's all I want to say.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, John Perryman.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Perryman.
Hi. Well, I'm here just to let everyone know that I'm still here and we're still having problems. It was a year ago that I reached out to the commander of the 11th about a problem we were having in our park, one of our few green spaces on the west side. And no one even bothered to get back to me. So I came to the board meeting in April. That's 11 months ago. The superintendent said he was ready to do a lot of things. I'd be very happy. But sadly, even today I went and it's possibly worse than it was 11 months ago. So I just wanted to let you know I'm still here. This problem is still here. I've been told things are happening. I don't really believe it because 11 months is a ridiculously long time for any kind of investigation. I was just wondering if the superintendent would like to speak to this at all.
Yep, I would, Mr. President, if you.
Please.
Yeah, so I had the virtual call with Mr. Perman a few weeks back. We had made some arrests and reported out to him, and we made some commitments to do additional work. And I know the XO of the 11th district is on the call to be able to give an update. Go ahead, Captain.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Superintendent. I just want to say Lake and St. Louis is one of the priority problems that our district is looking at. Lake and St. Louis is an operating table, and we as the Chicago Police Department, we are the surgeons. We're working with narcotics. We're working with the Park District. Narcotics is working on an operation right now. They have 20 targets, and they're waiting on approval by the ASA's office before they close it out. Once it's done, we have a comprehensive plan between Commander McKenzie, the Deputy Chief's office, to put a ton of resources in that area to make sure that the problem does not come back. The commander, the deputy chief's office, and the Park District are working on a plan to form a task force to take care of the homeless problem in that area. We're going to set them up with city services. We're going to reach out to the people in the tents. Like I said, it's a priority problem, and we're tackling it from all fronts. So just hold tight, Mr. Perryman. I've talked to you about this. We're working on it.
Thanks, Captain.
Real quick, thank you, Captain. Real quick, Mr. Foreman. I'm wondering if you could put me in touch with someone from the mayor's office who deals, one of her deputies that deals on the police side that I could speak with. Is that something you could help me with?
I work on it. There's a vacancy in that office right now, but I'll work on it. But you absolutely have the ability to give me a call anytime as you normally do. So feel free to give me a call tomorrow if you like, and we'll continue to work on this.
All right. Well, I guess I hope I don't have to see y'all next month. I hope that we get something
see you
happen
next
then.
month. Mr. Perryman, I hope we do see you next month. We need your continued perseverance. Yeah. I've connected you with Reverend Edie. I've connected you with someone in the mayor's office. These problems are not, they're not one-to-one. These are societal issues that we're dealing with. And we want your passion. We want you to continue to work within the community that you decided to live in. And we would like for you to continue to be a part of these meetings, as well as a part of making the community better. So I hope we see you next month. I hope your problem is gone, but I hope that you continue to come back to these meetings. Thank you. The next speaker, Krista Noel.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to update everyone on the Nightingale shooting. I did have someone call me, a sergeant called me, and he was surprisingly open about the investigation. There's still a question of whether or not Damia Smith was actually shot by Nightingale. But during our conversation, I realized that a spree shooter in particular is too rapidly evolving in order to do anything while it's going on. Once somebody decides that they're going to roll around the neighborhood and shoot people, police are really at a disadvantage. Even though he said that there's protocol as far as mass shootings are concerned, where it's one location, there is not protocol for if there is a spree shooter who's running around to different locations. He explained the disadvantages that occur as far as the OEMC is concerned. You can track a car, but because there's a 30-second delay in a car in recognizing a plate, that someone on 79th Street could be off of 79th Street within 30 seconds, and you wouldn't know where they were. So there's no reactive, well, there may be some reactive protocol that could be put in place, but in all actuality, a spree shooter is very difficult to deal with. So we have to load the front end. We have to be proactive. And when we find that someone has domestic violence charges, we really have to look at, because we know that domestic violence is connected to mass shootings, spree shootings, any kind of shooting, especially shootings of women, like in Atlanta, where you have 7 women who were shot and killed. You have to load up the front, right? So I'm asking people and the Chicago Police Department and the city of Chicago to really look at mandatory evaluations of people who have been charged and convicted of domestic violence incidents and mandatory.
I'm sorry, Ms. Noel, I'm going to have to cut you off. I was trying to find a good break point. So, Superintendent, this is Ms. Noel. You know Ms. Noel fine. Actually, I think this might be another good place for Deputy Chief, maybe for you to also connect with Ms. Noel. She's always a very good resource for us here at the police board, and I think that you guys would have a really good relationship. Next speaker, Flora Suttle.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Suttle.
Excuse me. I've had the tooth extracted today, so I'll sound a little muffled. But a couple of points I'd like to make today. Of course, you know I'm speaking on behalf of my son, Derek Suttle, who was killed by an off-duty male black police officer February 11, 2012. I requested that his case be reopened. It was closed by IPRA and OPA. I requested, made that request with the Inspector General, Ms. Deborah Wiesberg. I'd like to know from her the status of my request, number one. Number two, Chief Roberts, during her presentation, her speech, she mentioned that audio or video recordings could be released to the public who are accompanied by their attorney. So my question is, without an attorney, there's no release of the audio or the video, number one, or number two, if like me, you have all the audio and I can release it at any time to the public if I choose. First question to Ms. Wiesberg. I'm finished.
Okay.
Hi, Ms. Settle, how are you? I do have an update on our last conversation. I'd like to speak with you about it directly, and if tomorrow is a good time, I will give you a call tomorrow.
All right.
Tomorrow would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chief Roberts.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Ms. Settle. Actually, anyone who has filed a complaint may make a request to have copy of their any associated video or certain other records that are associated with your complaint. You don't have to be represented by an attorney. That was one of the specific things that were in the executive order. So if there is video that we have in our possession that you don't have, we can get that to you. We can reach out to you tomorrow or the following day. Is that something you would like, or do you have all that you need?
Oh, no, I don't have all that I need. I'd like to get everything that you have. And tomorrow would be a great day to reach out to me.
Okay. All right. Anything? Yeah, we'll go through and see what we have.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely.
All the attachments as well. Okay. Thank you.
Feel better.
Thank you.
Oh, be safe. Be well.
It's not often I smile when I call the next speaker, but our next speaker, COVID I haven't seen this man in a long time. Our next speaker, George Blakemore. But unless he's calling from a different number, I'm not sure that he's here today. George Blakemore.
And again, he can press *6 no matter what number he's calling from.
*6, Mr. Blakemore, if you're on. All right, well, maybe next month. Mr. Blakemore, if you see this on CAN TV, we want you to call in. Please join us. Our final speaker is Mr. Robert Moore. Mr. Robert Moore. Okay. At this time, all members of the public who signed up to speak have been called. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Paula Wolf, so moved.
Second, Michael Eady.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes and the meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Stay safe.
Thanks, all. Good evening.
Stay safe. Good night.
Thank you.
Aye.
So long, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.